night and good health.
It's time now for Mr. Keene, tracer of lost persons. Ladies and gentlemen, Anison and Kalinos present Mr. Keene, tracer of lost persons. One of the most famous characters of American fiction in one of radio's most thrilling dramas. Tonight and every Thursday at the same time, the famous old investigator takes from his file and brings to us one of his most celebrated missing persons cases. Tonight's case is entitled The Case of the Murdered Detective. This program comes to you from the makers of Anison. You probably have occasion at times to take something for headaches, neuritis, or neuralgic pain. But if you've never taken Anison, let me suggest that you do so, especially if you want incredibly fast and effective relief. Anison is like a doctor's prescription. That is, it contains not just one, but a combination of medically proven active ingredients in easy-to-take tablet form. Your own dentist or physician may have given you an envelope containing Anison tablets at one time or another. Thousands of people have come to know and prefer Anison this way. So the next time you want prompt relief from the pains of headaches, neuritis, or neuralgia, try Anison. See for yourself how incredibly fast and effective it is. Ask for Anison at your neighborhood drug counter today. For most effective relief, use only as directed. Anison is spelled A-N-A-C-I-N. Now for Mr. Keene and the case of the murdered detective. Our scene opens in the office which Mr. Keene, the famous investigator, shares with his friend and partner, Mike Clancy. Telephone is ringing at the moment, and as Mike picks up the receiver, he hears a familiar voice at the other end of the wire.
Hello.
Mr. Keene?
Oh, this is his partner, Mike Clancy speaking.
Mike, this is Jim Ryan.
Oh, Jim, my boy, and how are you?
Fine, Mike. Would you put Mr. Keene on the wire, please? It's important.
Sure. Just a second. Mr. Keene?
Yes, Mike?
It's Jim Ryan, the police force detective. He says it's important.
Oh, all right, I'll take it. Hello?
Mr. Keene?
Yes, Jim.
I'm calling from a phone booth in the Hotel Metropole. I'm working on a case, and I thought you might be able to help me out.
Glad to do anything I can, Jim.
Do you remember a man named Martin Cook?
Martin Cook?
He's in the real estate business. He was called as a material witness in an embezzlement case 2 years ago. If I remember, you had something to do with breaking that case.
Just a moment, Jim. I'll ask Mike Clancy to check through the files.
I don't have much time, Mr. Keene. As a matter of fact, I've been trailing Cook for the past 3 hours.
Jim Ryan.
Knife fight.
Jim.
What's the trouble, boss?
Hotel Metropole, Mike, quickly. Something's happened to Jim Ryan, and I only hope we're not too late. Here are the public telephone booths, Mike.
The first one's empty, Mr. Keene. Let's see if the other one...
Mike, help me open this door.
Wait, there's someone inside, crumpled up against the wall. Here, let's see if we can open this phone booth door.
Mike.
Saints preserve us. It's Jim Ryan.
He's dead. He's got a knife in his back.
Sure, and he was one of my old friends on the police force. A better man never lived. I'd like to get my hands on the man...
Easy, Mike. Let's keep our heads. We've got work to do. These phone booths are isolated from the rest of the hotel lobby. That's why it wasn't hard for Jim Ryan's killer to strike and get away. Step into the next phone booth, Mike, and put a call through to the police.
I will, sir.
I'll notify the hotel manager. Then I want to pay a visit to a man named Martin Cook.
Martin Cook? Is he the man Jim Ryan was trailing, boss?
Yes, Mike. Jim said he was in the real estate business, and I want to find him before he has a chance to plan a getaway.
Here's the office, Mr. Keene. Martin Cook, real estate.
Keep your gun where you can reach it quickly, Mike.
I've got it handy, boss.
May I help you?
Is Mr. Cook in?
Not at the moment. I'm his secretary, Miss Everett. Did you have an appointment with Mr. Cook?
No, my name is Keene. This is my partner, Mr. Clancy.
Mr. Keene, the famous investigator? Please sit down, sir. Mr. Cook should be here at any moment.
Perhaps you'd better take a look in his office, Mike.
Yes, sir.
But I assure you that Mr. Cook isn't in, Mr. Keene.
I don't doubt your word on that, Miss Everett. However, I'd like my partner to search his office for evidence.
Evidence of what?
Your employer, Mr. Cook, is under suspicion of murder.
Murder?
Is that his private office, miss?
Yes, I'll show it to you, Mr. Clancy.
I'll wait out here, Mike, in case Mr. Cook arrives.
Right, sir.
This is Mr. Cook's private office, Mr. Clancy.
Let's have a look through this desk.
Mr. Clancy, who was murdered?
Jim Ryan, a police detective. A man with a wife and 3 children dependent on him. Sure, and when we get our hands on the killer, he'll regret it. I'll take these books and these business papers along with me. Miss Everett, whose picture is that on Martin Cook's desk?
Mr. Cook's son, Arthur.
Oh, he's got himself a family, has he?
Only his son. His wife is dead, Mr. Clancy. Mr. Cook.
Miss Everett, what's going on in here?
This man is an associate of Mr. Keene's, the private investigator.
I'll handle it if you don't mind, miss. You're Martin Cook?
I am.
Just a minute, mister. Mr. Keene?
Yes, Mike?
Martin Cook came into his office through another door.
Oh. Did you find anything?
And I didn't have much of a chance to look around before he came in, boss. I grabbed these books and papers on general principles just to read them over.
Mr. Cook?
Yes, Miss Everett, will you leave us alone, please?
If there's anything
Just see that I'm not disturbed.
Very well, Mr. Cook.
Mr. Keene, if I recall correctly, we met for a few moments about 2 years ago.
That's right, Mr. Cook. It was in regard to an embezzlement case. I remember you helped the district attorney gather evidence to break the case. You were very brave to testify, since your life had been threatened by gangsters.
Have you come here to ask me for additional help, Mr. Keene?
No. This time, I'm afraid, you're not an innocent witness testifying for the state. You may find yourself a defendant.
In what way?
Do you know a man named James Ryan?
Is he a police detective?
Yes.
I believe I've heard the name.
He's been murdered.
Murdered? Oh, no.
And at the time, he was making some kind of investigation of you, Mr. Cook.
I see.
Do you know what he was investigating?
Jim Ryan was investigating a theft of charity funds, Mr. Keene. Funds I stole.
I see. And what about his murder?
You have no farther to go to find your murderer. I killed that police detective.
Sure, and he admits it, Mr. Keene.
Just a moment, Mike. Mr. Cook, you say you killed Jim Ryan?
Yes.
When?
What difference does it make?
Well, what did you do with the gun?
I threw it away in the river.
Mr. Keene.
I must warn you, Mr. Cook, that anything you say can be used against you. But you're under no obligation to talk at this point.
Take me away, leave me in jail. I've admitted the crime, haven't I? What more do you want?
All right, Mike, we'll drag down the quarters of Mr. Cook and turn him over to the police. Then we'll continue with our investigation.
What more is there to investigate? You've solved the crime, haven't you?
Not quite, Mr. Cook. I have a feeling there's a great deal more to be discovered, in spite of your so-called confession. Now I want to know who the person is you're trying to shield.
No one. No one. I tell you, I did it. Turn me over to the police.
Very well, Mr. Cook, come along. But I mean to find out who you're trying to shield.
Well, Mr. Keene, we've turned our self-confessed murderer, Martin Cook, over to the police. Where do we go from here, sir?
To Cook's residence, Mike. I've looked it up in the phone book. Drive to Carroll Street.
Yes, sir. Sure, and when he said he threw his gun away, I got the shock of my life.
I tricked him into that, Mike. As you know, Jim Ryan was stabbed to death with a knife. I suggested a gun, and Cook took the bait.
But why do you think he did that, Mr. Keene? Confessed to a murder he didn't commit.
As I told him, in my opinion, he's shielding someone.
Well, I heard you tell that to Lieutenant Hale at police headquarters too, boss, but the lieutenant mentioned another angle to it.
Yes, I know, and he may be right. Martin Cook may be a clever psychologist. He might be trying to get us to think he's protecting someone, just to make himself appear an innocent martyr. Cook could have actually committed the murder himself.
But according to his account books, the money he collected from them charities is missing, boss. That's why Jim Ryan, the police detective, was trailing him.
Yes, Mike, I know. Martin Cook may have stolen the money himself, or it may have been stolen by the person he's trying to shield. We're on our way to Martin Cook's house right now to check on that all-important fact.
Yes?
My name is Keene. This is Mr. Clancy. This is Mr. Martin Cook's house, isn't it?
Yes, I'm Arthur Cook, his son.
I'm afraid I have bad news for you, Arthur.
Bad news? Has something happened to Dad?
He's being held by the police on suspicion of murder.
My father held for murder?
May we come in, please?
Oh, yes, of course. You just about knocked the wind out of me, Mr. Keene. Well, there must be some mistake. My father...
He admitted the murder, young fella.
Admitted it? Well, who was murdered?
A police detective was stabbed to death while trailing your father. Jim Ryan evidently had gotten information that your father was guilty of stealing certain charity funds that were entrusted to him.
No, Dad couldn't have stolen that money. I don't believe it.
But he's admitted that, too.
I must get hold of a lawyer. Just a moment, Mr. Keene. Hello?
Arthur, darling?
I can't talk to you now, Lola.
But Arthur, what's that?
I'll be back.
You think I'm going to sit around in my apartment all day just waiting for your call?
Mr. Keene, where is my father being held?
At police headquarters.
I must go down to see him at once.
Since we're working with the police, you don't mind if we remain here and look the house over, do you?
There's nothing in this house that'll interest you, Mr. Keene.
Well, suppose you let me be the judge of that, Arthur.
Oh, very well. Stay here if you like. I'm going to get in touch with our attorney and get my father out of this crazy mess.
Sure, and he turned pale when you told him about his father being a murder suspect, Mr. Keene.
Yes, Mike, and his reaction to the theft of the charity funds was just as startling. And I wonder why. A murder charge is a lot more serious than the theft of money, and yet... Mike, there's a small book of telephone numbers on that side table. Would you hand it to me, please?
Yes. Here you are, sir.
That girl Arthur Cook just spoke to on the phone. He called her Lola. Yes, there's a phone number and address in here for someone named Lola Slade. I think I'll call her.
Look at this house, Mr. Keene. Sure, and it seems that a man who can afford an expensive place like this shouldn't be tempted into stealing money from charity cases.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Mike. There's something strange about it.
Hello?
Is this Miss Lola Slade?
Well?
My name is Keene. I was wondering if I could see you about...
I have nothing to do with it. Keep away from me, do you hear? Keep away.
Hello?
Did Lola Slade hang up on you, boss?
Yes. After protesting her innocence about something I hadn't even accused